Hello, and welcome to today's video on a very specific, amazing Renaissance work of art, the tomb of Francis II, Duke of Brittany, and his second wife Margaret, that's in the Cathedral of St. Peter in Nantes. And not only is this a spectacular work of art from the standpoint of the carving and how it was produced, and the detail of what it's produced, to me, more importantly, is the alchemic symbolism and the Egyptian symbolism that can be found in this very box. I'm in the middle of getting ready to do a much longer video that might take over an hour or longer on the masculine and the feminine, so I thought I would get this out for you while we're waiting. This was originally an article that I put on my website. I put it up back in October of last year. But I thought this was a good time because it was this very cathedral, the Cathedral of St. Peter, where this sarcophagus box exists that burned down, or didn't burn down, but had the arson or the fire recently in Nantes, beautiful city in France, and it just made me think again of this box and the beauty of the box. When I actually came to it, I spent a tremendous amount of time at it. This cathedral, while has some extremely beautiful exterior artwork, extremely beautiful sculpturing and work to it, when I first got inside of this one, I was a little taken aback by the energy. I found that the energy was a bit very subdued in it. And I walked around, and of course it does have some very nice sculptures within the cathedral, and it does have some very nice pieces of artwork. But for a while I hadn't really found anything other than one painting, which I will come to in a little bit. It was only when I come near the far end that I came to this sarcophagus box. And what you're looking at is a Renaissance work of art, the tomb of Francis II, Duke of Brittany. It includes him and his second wife, Margaret of Foix, and it's made out of Carrara marble by sculptor Michael Columba, and it was made in 1507. Very interestingly, it was commissioned by the daughter of Francis, Anne of Brittany, who later became the Queen of France. And we'll talk a bit about Anne at the end of this video. But what's amazing is, again, the treasure trove of alchemic and Egyptian symbolism. I mean, this box is speaking to you in direct alchemic terms. And I literally spent 3 hours just examining and photographing this, so as to try to enjoy every carving, every detail of the symbolism. And since I'd seen no analysis of this box anywhere on the internet, that's why I wrote the article, and now I want to do this particular video on it. To start with, we have to really begin to recognize that the box has a symbolic match. And that symbolic match, for those of you who can see it already, would be here. This is the combination of the Anubis shrine and what's known, I think, as the gilded shrine from the tomb of Tutankhamun. And you're going to notice, most importantly, is the Anubis statue in this position on the first shrine, and you'll see that there are four, well, you can't see the other two, of course, but there are the four key female deities protecting the shrine of Tutankhamun. And we're going to see the exact same symbolism when we come to the tomb to the tomb here in Nantes. So one of the reasons I was looking at this for so long is because I saw instantly I'm looking at an updated ancient Egyptian symbolic sarcophagus. So let's look at this in some detail and try to go with explaining what's here and some of what you can be looking at. Now again, it's a rectangular box, 3.9 by 2.3 by 1.27 meters. We see that the couple is positioned on top of the box, and again, look at the fine work of the marble. I mean, this is beautiful workmanship. Behind them is they're seated on their heads are on two pillows in prayer, 3 angels. The third angel you'll see in a moment. In front is a lion, and beside is a greyhound. Now, the lion, of course, is representing the Sphinx, or representing life. Well, Anubis was the guide to the underworld. So this is Upawat, as opposed, it's a form of Anubis, and a Upawat was the jackal who was, as soon as you died, would be the guardian to start taking you through the realms of the afterlife. So you see, we basically have Upawat and a sphinx right away at the feet of the deceased couple on the shrine. Along the sides of the shrine are these spectacular sculptures, and I mean they are unbelievably beautiful. The top row is I believe they are the apostles of not only Francis but Charlemagne and Saint Louis, and the top figures are all in white. So each of these figures are completely done in white. They are often shown as older men with beards. In fact, they look very Greek, would be the best way of describing it. But down below, on the lower section, is a whole group of people in dark, almost in a very monk-like look. This one here is sitting with a book on his lap and sitting in the conch shell, which is often symbolizing feminine energy. So what you're seeing is and this is on all four sides of the box. So you've got the symbolism of light and dark. You've got the symbolism of masculine and feminine. You've got the symbolism of those going outward in the world and those, in a sense, going inward in the world. So you've got this incredible amount of dualistic symbolism directly on the box. And for anyone who has just watched my video on the Cathars, which would also include the Knights Templar, you would know that the dualistic understanding of life was a key part of their religious understanding, their understanding of reality. And so again, this is taking me into seeing this also as a potential link to the Knights Templar. As we continue on, we just get a couple of very nice views of the angels, the quality of their carving, and how beautifully these pillows have been made and positioned, and how well the tops of the head of each of the two on the sarcophagus box are made. But for me, the most important symbolism in all of this is the four women standing at each of the corners. So in the ancient Egyptian shrine of Tutankhamun, those four women are actually at the sides, but we have the exact same thing here. They're listed in this to be courage, justice, temperance, and prudence. Those are the four names of these four statues. You can see that in ancient Egypt, the four corners of the statues with Tutankhamun are Isis, Nephthys, Neith, and Selkit, but I will show that one of those, Nephthys, is actually been replaced here to be represented as Maat. So the first woman is the woman you're looking at right here. This one is known as Courage. She's wearing armor, and she's wearing a helmet, which is indicating a warrior-type activity, and this would, of course, be an ancient Egyptian symbolism, Selkit. And the sting of the scorpion with which she provides, because that sting, that courage, you're going to need the courage of the scorpion to go into the parasitic mind and, in a sense, sting it to death. You're going to have to sting the mind to death, control it in order to, or at least we'll say not sting it to death, we'll say sting it into submission. That's the best way of saying it. You notice that one hand holds a tower, while the other hand is holding the dragon, and the dragon in the tower symbolism is something that's found so often throughout early religious art and in the Middle Ages. The dragon, of course, representing the mind or the parasitic influence or demonic beings, or anything that is in control of the human being is symbolized often by the dragon. Usually you see Saint Michael fighting the dragon, but here you see her and a really good view of her helmet, which includes the spiral. This is actually not a Fibonacci spiral. This is a Archimedean spiral, right? But it's still it's representing the same symbolism of what the spiral represents. Notice the flower petal on the breast. Again, I could go through symbolism after symbolism, but I want to stick to the main stuff. And this is the main one for her, and that is not just that the dragon has bursted out of the tower representing the sort of the thing that's binding us into material reality. So the dragon has been burst out of it, and notice she holds it by the neck upside down. The dragon is completely subdued. The dragon, whether it be the mind or the thoughts or however you want to look at what the dragon symbolizes here, the dragon has been completely subdued by this first woman known as Courage. She has total control. Again, you'll see this so many times in medieval religious art, in the art of the Knights Templar, etc. So this is a beautiful, beautiful sculpture. And again, not just the symbolism, the quality of the work. This is considered the first Renaissance masterpiece to have been done in France. 1507. This is the exact same time that Michelangelo was painting the Sistine Chapel. So we have our second female figure, and she's over here, and this would be Temperance, and you could see this as Neath. You'll see here, we'll get a better view of it, but she's holding a horse's bridle in this hand, while she holds a clock over here, and we'll hopefully get a better view of it. There we go. We have three key symbolic elements to be seen very quickly. The horse bridle, that's kind of similar to Osiris holding the whip, that in a sense she's controlling the thoughts of the mind. She's controlling the negative influences on her being and has, in an active role, complete control. She's wearing a brooch on her chest, which is very similar to an ancient Egyptian scarab, and that representing the rising in the east, or the rising of new knowledge, or the rising of understanding. And in her left hand she holds the clock. The clock meaning, in this case, I think she's symbolizing that she's in control of time. Very similar to Neath, right? Neath was weaving time into existence. She was the divine weaver, and one of the things she was weaving was time. So you can see that the combination here of all these things that are being represented. This is the next figure. This is Justice, and Justice is this is supposed to be Nephthys in the tomb of Tutankhamun, but it'll be quite obviously shown that this is Maat. So in her right hand, she's holding the sword, so active justice. But in her left hand, you can see she's got the book and she's got the scales. And this is quite obviously the balance, the great cosmic balance of Maat, the cosmic balance of law. And the idea is that not only does she have complete balance of cosmic law, she's willing to act on that cosmic law. And acting on that law doesn't necessarily mean to be calm and nice. The acting on cosmic law can represent an intense action within the dream state. And look at the quality of the artwork of the sword, of the side of the cloth, the fingers, the fingernails, the ribs on the sword, and of course the sun sitting at the base of it. So again, a beautiful statue. The fourth of the statues is without doubt my absolute favorite. And I probably took an hour just with this one statue. It's called Prudence, but this would obviously be Isis, and it's supposed to have a likeness of Anne of Brittany, the woman who commissioned the statue. In her right hand, or in her left hand, she's going to be holding a compass. You can see that here, an open compass. In her left hand, she's holding a mirror. This is what's known as a mirror. Now, there's going to be something on the back of her that we're going to see in a moment, but we want to take a quick look first at her checking into the mirror and checking in at the base of her foot underneath the open compass. Similar to the dragon and the tower, she's got the serpent turned upside down. She's stepping on the tail so it can't get anywhere, and somehow the ability of the open compass, which in symbolic terms can represent the turning of the universe, or the knowledge of the entire universe. The universe meaning universe, one turn. And so it's that knowledge that is keeping the serpent, keeping the parasitic mind at bay. I hope we can get another shot of the mirror here. Let me just go back for a moment. Now the mirror is also a very important representation, because that's in this, she's gazing into the dream. She's gazing into duality. So this by looking outward, the control of the serpent and the gazing into the mirror, you could also look at it as a psychic ability, or a knowledge of what's going to come and what's going to be before. We have the woman with the clock who knows time, and she knows what's coming from the standpoint of action. But what's most interesting of this statue is this aspect of it here. So we've got the face of Isis looking outward, but we've got this older man's face facing backward. So again, she's facing time as it's going forward, or actually a better description of the symbolism, she's looking into the dream being what she's seeing in the mirror. She's looking in the reflection. She's dealing with the external reality. Well, this would be symbolized as Osiris, and this is the only male figure other than the other than Francis II laying on the sarcophagus box. So this is Osiris looking back into the absolute. So you have this incredible symbolism of male and female, young and old, of dream world, absolute world, working with the dream, working with the absolute. It's one of the more spectacular statues I've ever seen. And I mean, I would love to be able to have a copy of this in my home to just stare at on a daily basis. I would take easily an hour a day just to soak in the symbolism of this incredible statue. So I just wanted to point out some of that. We'll take a little. Remember, this is commissioned by Anne, and she later became the daughter of Francis II, who became Queen of England, Queen of France. And also in the church, in Nantes church, is what is supposed to be her heart. That supposedly her heart has been saved and placed in this this golden container. It was stolen in 2018 along with some other jewels from the jewel room. It was obviously found and returned back to its safe place. But this is, again, has very much similarities and reminders of the same ancient Egyptian funerary rites, where the key elements, the key organs of the body were taken out and placed into canopic jars as part of the mummification process. And this was Anne's tomb. This is the tomb of her and her husband, who was, I think it was Louis, who was the King of France that she was married to. But again, notice that there's a lot of the same thing. We've got the four women at the corners, just as the same as the sarcophagus we just looked at. We've got the row of people around the side. Now, instead of just the sarcophagus sort of ending here with her body, we've added the sort of Greek Roman style pillars, and we've added the extra information on top. So we have a lot of similarity in her own sarcophagus box. This one is in Saint Denis in Paris, I think. Now, there are a couple of other things in the church and in Nantes itself that I just want to quickly mention. This was a painting that was inside the church on the opposite side, or kind of opposite to the box we just looked at. And it's supposed to show the burial of Mary Magdalene. And what is so interesting is seeing her wrapped in mummy wrappings, almost like they're depicting her as having been mummified. And you have to wonder, who exactly are the women in the background, and why does Christ, who should have been dead by this time, why is Christ there? Of course, most would say, well, Christ is there as an angel or as a spirit, using the torch he has as a light to guide the way to the burial. But it could also be very interesting symbolism that this happened while he was still alive. Not going into detail on the biblical story at this point and its reality or non-reality, but we just want to use this painting as a very powerful symbolic piece. I also want to point out that the art gallery in Nantes has some outstanding paintings, and here are just a few of them. We have this one. This is one of my favorites, which was a view of the Last Supper in a very unique way, showing it at a square table with rectangular seats, everyone around at the four corners. So a reminder again of the four, of the square, of the earthliness of what we're seeing. Notice that there's very little on the table itself, but this is the key factor that I love, is the curtains, that the curtains have been opened, that again, like reality is being pulled apart. The curtain or the veil of Isis is being pulled apart, and you're seeing absolute reality. You can also think of the same thing now I think of it, the two-headed statue, which of course has Isis on one side, Osiris on the other, and you might say to go behind the statue is lifting the veil, going past the dream of reality and seeing truth. So this is a spectacular one. This painting was done by Dufet, and that's the name and information if you're looking for it for yourself. Again, beautiful pieces of artwork. Again, unbelievable amount of symbolism and knowledge in this painting. This was another painting I just looked at for a good 20 or 30 minutes. It was spectacular. Nantes also has some beautiful buildings in it, beautiful cathedrals beyond St. Peter's. This is St. Nicholas, one of my favorite cathedrals in all of France. It has spectacular windows to it, spectacular, beautiful rose windows, which for anybody who's following sort of mud flood knowledge understands that these are actually projection devices, projecting energy being created inside the cathedral, or whatever it really was originally before it became a cathedral, and then the energy being projected outward in these geometric cymatic wave patterns. And this is one of my, like I say, it's one of my favorite churches in all of France. And there's some, other than Chartres, of course. Chartres is I should probably do a video on Chartres, because it just, as cathedrals go, it kind of blows you away. But this one here is right up there. So I'm going to leave it at that for you today. I was going to keep it at 15 minutes. It hit 20, but okay. It's just a reminder that you can go to a lot of different places and not necessarily expect to find masterpieces or incredible wisdom or alchemic symbolism. There could be something right in your own city, right where you live, just 5 or 10 minutes from your house, that you haven't recognized as being a piece of great wisdom or great information. And keep your mind open, even when you're not traveling, even when you're around your local area, that there's things that can jump up at you that you may not have recognized to the wisdom that they hold. I want to thank the 3 subscribers, or I don't know if they're subscribers, but 3 people who donated to help me with the new microphone that I'm using here today. And I want to thank the 3 of them. I don't want to thank them openly, but I'm going to try to get in touch with them and thank them personally for helping me replace the microphone that I lost while I was out berry picking. It's a long story. You don't need to hear about it. And so that's the Alchemic sarcophagus box in Nantes, France. Sometime in the next 4 to 5 days, we'll have up the new masculine feminine video, and then I'll be looking to see whether I move into Rennes-le-Château or which topic I'm going to discuss. I have some healing topics I want to get into, and a few things that are, I hope, valuable to where we are and where we're moving to today. So good luck to everyone out there. Stay solid in the wisdom. Keep searching for knowledge. Keep the focus within. Keep spiraling inward. Even though the exterior world is a guide to the knowledge you seek, the answers you want, the wisdom you hope to find is all within. Not within a body, I mean within the deepest aspect of the self. And the more you can spiral in, the deeper you can go, the closer you're going to get to whatever it is you're seeking for. We'll see you in a future video.